Hey, Mike Zorns, also known as the Political Otter, coming to you from Little McGregor Park. Cute little park right here in the heart and soul of downtown Toronto. This is part two of yesterday's video where we're talking about the outcomes from Carney's trip to Rome. And there's one other interesting one that, again, hasn't gotten a lot of attention. So I definitely wanted to talk about it just a little bit. And it means we're going to say some inflammatory things about Donald Trump, so buckle up. All right, so Carney's in Rome. Had some really interesting meetings with the heads of state of both the UK and France. I talked yesterday about what some of that might mean for Canada and our place in the world going forward. There's another interesting conversation that happened, which was Mark Carney spent a fair bit of time with JD Vance, and the two of them seemed to have a pretty productive conversation. You're probably asking, why the heck are we talking about that? JD Vance, Vice President of the US, so what? Well, here's the thing, and this is where it's going to get inflammatory. Donald Trump is very clearly having cognitive decline. It's not happening as fast as it had been happening in Biden, but it is absolutely happening. You could see it in the way that he showed up to the debates and the campaigns during the election, and we've really seen it in his first 100 days. Trump 2.0 is more erratic, less clear, showing all of the key signs of early dementia that, frankly, make the latter days of Ronald Reagan look like the pinnacle of mental strength. So it becomes really important that Carney is purposely spending time and energy with JD Vance. Look, we don't know if Donald Trump is actually going to be able to serve out his 4-year term here. I'm being wildly speculative, but with the incidence of cognitive decline being so obvious, so painfully forward in Donald Trump, it means there's a possibility that he might be deemed no longer fit to serve before the end of this term. Now, there's a lot of ifs within that sentence, and many things that would have to happen in order for that outcome to be true. But it is not a zero possibility at this stage. That means we might end up with President JD Vance. And he's kind of an unknown. You know, we're starting to get a little bit of an idea of who he is, where he stands on some issues. You know, there is no doubt that he is very far on the Christian right, and certainly right now is well behind the America First rhetoric of Donald Trump. But there is a reality that he might be president a whole lot sooner than we would think. And if he is, my suspicion would be that we would see a very different approach to trade, international relations, and some major domestic policies in the US than what we've seen under Donald Trump. It wouldn't be a hard right turn, but there would probably be a departure. So I think it's a really important thing. And one other thing that is really important about the Trump and JD Vance relationship, let's be blunt, Trump did not like his last vice president and did everything in his power to weaken the power of that particular post. Trump actually likes this vice president. He seems to be putting him front and center a lot. There does feel like there's a little bit of a heir apparent mentality going on, which is unique and different for Trump 2.0 compared to 1.0. So, JD Vance also kind of has Trump's ear. Trump does listen to him. So I think it's really important that Carney invested a lot of time and energy into starting to build a relationship with him. One, it can probably help when it comes to the Canada-US relationship renegotiation that is likely to happen a little bit later this year. But I think more importantly, Carney wants to cover all potential bases because Trump might not be around for the entirety of this term. So this relationship that's starting to bud between Carney and JD Vance, the fact that the two of them are willing to find areas where they can agree, it's something that I'm going to watch very, very close because I do think it's going to fundamentally change some of the dynamic of the relationship that Canada and the US are having under Trump. And it's another thing that distinctly differentiates the way that Carney is approaching this relationship from his predecessor, Trudeau. Let me know your thoughts below. Curious where you stand on, is Trump actually going to make it to the end of of this current mandate? And if not, how you think that's going to change and affect the Canada-US dynamic? Let me hear your thoughts in the comments. Can't wait to spark this debate.